You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Parker Ainsworth here with Christian Rauh of Locked On Coogs and Locked On Kansas State, crossing over to break down the biggest news across the country in this segment. We're going to zoom out for a second, look at the transfer portal and all the inner workings of that. Ross Dellinger tweeted that the NCAA Administrative Committee decided to eliminate the spring transfer football portal window, but left undecided the exact length and timing of a single fall portal window, sources tell Yahoo Sports. A decision on details of the fall portal is expected within the month. The committee also adopted the move to make December a dead period and January 5th through 31st a contact period in the FBS, source told Yahoo Sports. It also changed the date a high school senior can receive a written offer from August 1st to November 15th. Christian, we just talked about a team that might need some new pieces in the Kansas State Wildcats. That whole landscape just changed.
Yeah, it changed for the big time, and I have a feeling that Kansas State's going to be, especially if they don't turn around this season, they're going to be very busy in the portal with players leaving and eventually definitely coming in. And if this all happens in one time, I know that we've seen some things happen before this Ross Dellinger tweet about the idea of potentially only being a 10-day window in the beginning of January. And of course, he did say that details are going to actually change within the next month. So we don't know that for sure. But if that is the case, then, man, imagine how crazy those 10 days are going to be. You might as well get some sleep in early, Parker, because you're not going to be sleeping. I mean, we're talking about multiple episodes coming out across every Locked On College channel because of the players leaving and entering the portal. It's going to be absolutely insane. But I don't know if I like it yet. I do like the fact of it maybe having a little bit more structure. And the fact that we were running into this issue in the summertime, spring heading into the summer window-ish, if you will, about the 105 roster size. Now that we're finally getting that type of consistency, maybe that alone might make me be okay with it. But either way, it's going to be hectic. It's going to be chaos, but I'm all for it. Chaos, at least. I'm all for the chaos part.
The chaos for sure. Now, I think it's interesting. Like Houston and the spring transfer portal window last transfer portal season was kind of a double-edged sword. They brought in Tanner Kogel at the end of the spring transfer portal window after he'd gone from Ball State to Wisconsin initially. He's our leading receiver this year as a tight end. I think that worked out pretty well. Houston Cougar fans are also quick to point out that they lost 3 defensive backs over the course of the spring, 2 of which were within hours on both ends before and after the spring game was played. And those 3 guys are all playing at teams, Florida State, Miami, and LSU, that are like top tier defenses right now. Those guys could be on this Houston Cougar team in a lot of ways. I struggle with what to go back, and I feel like if you play the spring, it feels like you ought to stick with that program. I get that aspect of this. I also get that if the spring doesn't work out, you might want to move. I get that aspect of it as well. I hate to tell Houston Cougar fans, if they got outbid on guys that went to LSU and Florida State in May, they probably would have also gotten outbid on those guys in January. They might just have left earlier. And I'm interested in a couple aspects of this, but you mentioned in pre-pod, again, peeking behind kimonos again, that you're intrigued by the high school senior part of this. I'll put this back on the screen for the video, folks, but high school senior can receive a written offer from August 1st, as it currently stands, all the way through November 15th.
Yeah, that's insane. Now you can only receive the offer from the 1st to the 15th. I mean, that is interesting, because that might mean that you get those written offers at a different time period compared to when the season actually starts. You might already have a 1-3 team. Like, I don't know, a certain program might be 1-3, and you usually could lose those decommitments, right? Let's look at Virginia Tech and UCLA, a perfect example of their coach firings. UCLA lost, I think, 8 or 9 decommits this past week because of the firings. Now, that's a complete exaggeration of a thought process here, but if they don't have the written letters, then that's never even an offer yet. You're going to maybe potentially get those written offers later on in the wintertime, the late fall, when you already know the status of a team. That could maybe potentially change how many decommitments we have. It might actually make the traffic of the high school player a little less. We might not talk about the high school player as much, which could be a drastic thing for the high school player, not actually getting the hype, could hurt them on NIL. especially because there's a single transfer portal window going. I think that there's one group of players, if we're looking at exactly right now, with a potential single transfer portal in the wintertime, it sounds like, right at the beginning of the year, and then with the fact that these high schools written offers are changing and being more of a solidified type of time frame, grad transfers sound like they're going to be the ones that win the most out of this. Because look, you talked about injuries, you talked about bringing players in the summertime. What if a certain player sits through the spring, they find out that they are not going to be a vital piece of that puzzle, or they can find a better spot moving forward? Grad transfers can still leave anytime once they graduate. That's something that hasn't changed, at least for what we know of at this moment. So it sounds like that might be the most beneficial for a single transfer portal, is grad transfers. And that's something that teams like Houston and Kansas State need to take the best advantage of.
That, or having lawyers like Diego Pavia, because apparently that works out really well. They're going to get, he may not take it, but they may give him another year of eligibility at the end of this whole thing.
I heard a really funny thing the other day. Who actually plays college athletics longer, Diego Pavia or Chad Barker Mazzara? Like, who does it? Who's it going to be?
Who does it? Christian, you can tell me this because y'all have been in a more competitive bowl situation in the transfer portal era as Kansas State folks than Houston has. But it feels like to me as an outsider that if there's transfer portal stuff happening while teams are in the college football playoff, and Houston hopes to be in that at some point in the not so distant future, that feels like a big disadvantage for the teams that are good. Am I crazy?
No, I agree with you 100%. I think we already saw that happen even with multiple transfer portal windows just this past season. Remember the backup quarterback for Penn State, who I think is the Missouri quarterback now? That was a big piece of a conversation when we should have been only focusing on Penn State in the college football playoffs. But instead, we're focusing on the backup quarterback having to do what is best for him and move on, because they knew Drew Aller was going to be there that next season. He wanted to find a nice path, and he had to leave his team. Kansas State brought in multiple players in the transfer portal from Ohio State. George Fitzpatrick, Gabe Powers being some. It is a complete direct impact for Kansas State and the national champions. So I do think that this doesn't help teams going into the college football playoffs. But when you're talking 136 programs, and then you're talking 12, potentially only 16 on the other, it's this or the other. Of course, you have to focus on when school starts as well. Athletics doesn't dictate that, but of course you have to find ways to make the rules work and make sense in that aspect. As much as we would like to say the only thing that matters is college football, college basketball, college athletics on this show, there's a lot of other things turning the keys, Parker.
Well, yeah, and part of the interesting thing about the UCLA situation, and you should go check out other shows across the network. I mean, Locked On Bruins and Locked On College Football, some of the UCLA stuff too. They haven't started classes yet, actually, because they're on the quarter system. So that adds intrigue versus the Virginia Tech situation, where they obviously have, because they're on semesters, and how that plays in this whole thing. Speaking of playing this whole thing, there are games this weekend. If you hadn't heard, I want to talk about those with you in just a second. But if you're going to make a trip to one of these games, you might be driving. If you're driving, Christian, you might be driving a Mazda.
And Mazda crafts cars for those who do simply just move. And Mazda delivers confidence for every ride with more IHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. You can feel, and I'm telling you, you can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. With that all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. So like our players, especially the Coogs being 3-0 right now, every detail matters, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved.